Well, hey guys, welcome back into the studio of Gangland Wire. Gary Jenkins here, retired Kansas City Police Intelligence Unit Detective. I'll tell you a story. I found this story in a book titled Pay, Quit, or Die. It was written by a former Chicago police detective named Don Heron. And it's a story that I'd never heard. I couldn't find online. It was about a war hero that I remember as a child. His name was Audie Murphy, and the title of the chapter was From War Hero to Hollywood Star to Mob Buster, in a way. Anyhow, Audie Murphy, let me tell you a little bit about Audie Murphy. Every kid, everybody my age, post-war baby boomer that knew about World War II, every boy probably has heard of Audie Murphy. It was a remarkable journey. He was born in 1925 down in Texas, made him just right to be a young man. 1941, whenever the war was really rocking and rolling, he fought in Europe. His early years were, he grew up poor and in hardship on the farm. Now, he may be poor to have hard conditions, but, usually had enough to eat. That farm life it'll make you tough. I'll tell you, I was raised on a farm, man. It will toughen your butt up. Went in the Army in World War II like everybody else. Even a lot of the mob guys went in. Johnny Rosselli, I just read an article about him, and he went in, and by the end of the war, then he ended up getting convicted in the Hollywood scam. But anyhow, he was probably just trying to hide when he went in the Army, trying to beat the case. Audie Murphy, he earned a staggering amount of awards and decorations, 33 of them altogether, including the Medal of Honor. He was the most decorated soldier of World War II. And when he came home, Life magazine featured him. That was the magazine of the day. And James Cagney was a real famous actor and producer, both before the war, during the war, and after the war. And he brought him out to Hollywood and signed him to a contract, set him on the road to be a movie star. Now, Audie Murphy was not a natural born movie star. He was a little guy. He's about 5'5", 120 pounds, a real unassuming war hero, if you will. They gave him acting lessons. They gave him voice lessons. They gave him dance training. Cagney never really got him in a movie. He had to do some more stuff to get in the movie. They ended their association. This is after the war, 1947. He signs on with an acting coach and continues his acting lessons. Finally, he gets a cast in a film called Bad Boy. And the backers really wanted Audie Murphy to be in it. They thought that would be a big plus. And then it did. It worked out for him. It got a lot of good reviews and, got some play, if you will. And he got a 7-year contract with Universal Studios, and he was starred in The Red Badge of Courage, for one example. That's a war movie. Got some critical acclaim at that point in time and became kind of a leading man in Hollywood for a short period of time. He was on something called several westerns, if I remember right, and Ride a Crooked Trail, Walk the Proud Land. But the one I remember, the one every boy of my age remembers, is To Hell and Back. And that's really the story of his World War II experiences. And I'll never forget in this one battle, and this is the one where he got the Medal of Honor. The Germans were kicking their butt, and he's walking alongside a tank, and they get the order to fall back. Well, the tank gets knocked out, and I think he had a BAR or maybe a Thompson, and these German soldiers are advancing toward him. There's hundreds of them, and he just starts mowing them down, and for some reason, some miraculous reason, he was never hit, and he just kept shooting them. And then he jumped on this tank, a disabled tank, and started working that machine gun and mowed down even more Germans. They credited him with killing over 50 Germans that day. Germans fell back, of course, and the Americans who had retreated according to orders came back from out of their cover and then charged the German line. So, he was a bold dude in many ways, and you're going to find out about how bold he was when it came to dealing with the Chicago outfit. Poor Audie Murphy had demons, and I don't know if this all came after the war, after all his PTSD. We talk about PTSD from combat experiences, because after the war, he had a lot of money. He got married a couple, 3 times. He had some kids, but he didn't pay much attention to them. A lot of financial difficulties, and he started gambling. Now, he is funny. He wouldn't endorse alcohol or cigarettes in commercials, but he was a degenerate gambler. He was a gambling addict. It practically did him in. Now, he's a little bitty guy, like I said, but he was fearless. So he's out there in Los Angeles, and whoever it was he was laying bets with, and back then a lot of it was on horse races. Of course, you had Santa Anita and had several tracks in California, but you had tracks all around the country. And early 50s, they were connected by wire service to the major cities. And so you could make bets at different off-betting parlors or with mobsters or with bookies, and they would be able to get the results. And you could go to a place where you could get the results right away. We're so used to instant communication now, but they had the wire service so you could get the results. And he started laying bets, and there was a couple of Chicago outfit mobsters he met in Hollywood, and he was having trouble finding his bookie or something one day. He'd been introduced to these guys, and they claimed they were affiliated with the Bucceri bookmaking group in Chicago, and they had called themselves Frank and Rocky from Chicago, and Frank was Frank Bucceri, Fifi Bucceri's brother, who was a real deal Chicago mob guy. And later they'll find out that this guy was passing himself off as Rocky and Police. They always took his bets. They said, we'll always take your bets, and here's some phone numbers. If there's any problem, give us a call. So, and it was, he could make his bets with no money up front. They started wagering on horse races nationwide, and he quickly lost money, big money, up in the 5 and 6 figures. But he always paid those losses because he had that Hollywood money coming in. But then he went on a winning streak, and he was up $112,000, up $112,000, and he wanted to collect. And he started they gave him the runaround because they didn't have the money, and then they're laying low. So he hired a Los Angeles private eye who found out for sure that there was 2 Chicago brothers named Frank and Fifi Bucceri who did have a bookmaking operation in Chicago. See, Audie did not do any homework, and he didn't know who these guys were. Frank and Rocky from Chicago. Fifi Bucceri was a well-known Chicago outfit member and bookmaker, and just all gangster around town. His brother Frank Bucceri worked for him as a collector for juice loans. He's a loan shark. And Frank Bucceri also helped run singer Vic Deone's pizza company. Vic Deone had a pizza company, and it was mobbed up. He was a famous singer at the time. Never could quite get to the Frank Sinatra status, but he was a really well-known Italian singer at the time. So this private dick, he finally is able to get in contact with these guys that Audie's been betting with. And they claim, well, those bets were never made. He got them down too late. So they're like still weaseling out on the deal. And the private detective will learn that more than likely Audie had been dealing with this Frank Bucceri and maybe Rocky and Police, but they still weren't sure. Of course, Audie Murphy's not afraid of conflict. He ain't afraid of killing. He ain't afraid of dying himself. So he got a phone number for this Fifi Bucceri. The private eye said, here's the guy who's in charge. And he calls him up and said, listen, you son of a bitch, I've been betting with your people and you owe me $112,000. Fifi tells him, said, I'll tell you what, he said, meet me at this office. It was a Hollywood talent agent out in Hollywood. Fifi, of course, is in Chicago. And so Audie shows up, and he brought along tapes of him making bets with these men who identified themselves as Frank and Rocky. The talent agent says, Fifi ain't coming, and, he doesn't know anything about this, and just get on out of here. I don't know why they went through all this. Well, Audie Murphy, he jumps up and he hits the guy. He's a big dude, like 6'4". He jumps up and whacks him and knocks him down, starts screaming, these guys owe me $112,000, and I'm going to get my money. So the private eye, he's got some connections in Chicago, and they take these tapes and they send them to Chicago PD, have somebody listen to him. Probably this Don Herron who wrote this. He was in police intelligence at the time. Probably one of them that listened to the tapes, and they listen and they say, this isn't Rocky and Police. This isn't Frank Bucceri. This is who this is. It's a guy named George Piera and Carl Fiorito. So they're minor guys, and they really, they sent the message back, the Chicago PD did, through the private detective, that these guys probably just took your money and were using Frank and Rocky's names. Fifi Bucceri and Frank especially, is probably Rocky too, was pretty happy to get this cleared up, because Fifi was thinking his brother and Rocky and Police had been running a scam on this Hollywood actor and not sharing the proceeds. As far as what happened to Carl Fiorito and George Piera, that's Peara. I don't know. I never heard of him. I couldn't find out anything about him. I did find there's a guy on the American Mafia blog site named Edmund Valin. He's a pretty good website. I got a lot of good information. He really does his research. I've tried to get him on the show. Told me once he was going to be on another one, then I'll come on your show. He said this Carl Fiorito is or was a Chicago outfit associate, and he was a jewel thief, a burglar, suspected killer. He had been busted for heroin possession in 1959, and he was close to people like Sam Giancana and Teach Battaglia and other mobsters, kind of bigger shot mobsters. He's like an associate that they trusted and probably could make some money for. But that was the end of that. He just lost his money. I guess he paid up, but then when he didn't really lose his money, they never got made. I guess in a way he lost his money. How do you figure that? He lost his money. They take your money when you lose, but if they don't pay you when you win, you lose that money. I guess you lose that money. Tragically, Audie Murphy's life ended early. He died in 1971 when a private plane that he was a passenger in crashed. He was with some other guys trying to go figure out some other way to make money, some kind of, not scam, but some other kind of business opportunity they were going to check out. But he was killed. He was only 45 years old. Audie Murphy, he left a legacy at the time. Now, probably young people have not heard of him today, but he was the ultimate symbol of courage, resilience, and patriotism in this country. And he went from war hero to Hollywood star. I mean, this guy was a true American hero. I always loved Audie Murphy. I saw him in some of those other movies. I don't know whether he was any good or not. He was entertaining as hell, but Audie Murphy, had a name for it. Audie Murphy, war hero. I mean, he just had the name. And, when kids my age, guys my age, World War II guys were the heroes of the day. Now, I guess I don't know if we have any heroes anymore. It doesn't seem like we do. Anyhow, thanks a lot. It's just a little story that I stumbled across that I thought would be interesting for you guys. Don't forget, if you have a problem with PTSD, they did not have a hotline for Audie Murphy, and I would say he probably did have a huge problem with PTSD, killing all those men. I mean, you don't just kill somebody and just walk away unscathed. I've seen coppers that, they on the surface they were unscathed, but underneath they were not unscathed. So you don't kill somebody and walk away unscathed. He didn't have it, but if he did, he could have gone to the VA website and got some help with his PTSD. He didn't have any problem with drugs or alcohol, but a lot of times that goes hand in hand with it. And we know that Anthony Ruggiano has a website that has a hotline number on it. And he's a drug and alcohol counselor down in Florida somewhere. He's a former Gambino member. Don't forget, I like to ride motorcycles. If I didn't say that, I think I forgot to say that. Look out for motorcycles when you're out there. Like and subscribe on YouTube and give me a review if you're on the audio app on Apple does reviews. I think some of these others do reviews too. It doesn't seem like I get very many reviews anymore. I got a lot of them early on. Got mainly good ones, got a few bad ones. I never look at your reviews, guys. You ever start doing something like this in the entertainment business, don't look at your reviews. It's, oh my God, it's bad sometimes, but sometimes it's good too. Anyhow, so thanks a lot, guys.